15th month around? Yeah, 16th month. Yeah.
Wow, that's
so we're
good.
very excited. And we got a great panel for you today. I want to first say thank you to our sponsors. We have, save it up. We are at the SF School of Digital Film, and I want to invite Jeremiah to say a few words about where you are. Here's Jeremiah.
Where are you?
Yeah.
This is going to be a deep philosophical discussion about where you are.
It's Heisenberg. You are here.
You are here now. Yes, this is a film school, and we're delighted to have you guys here. We have a number of wonderful classes, ranging anywhere from a one-day filmmaking workshop to a 12-month intensive filmmaking program. All of our classes are hands-on. A number of our students are here, and it's wonderful to have you guys here. I also want to tell you about something that we're in the beta phase of. We have partnered with our neighbors, The Hub, and we have a media lab co-work space that we are launching over the next couple of months. So for those of you that are interested in that, we have a number of wonderful people over there. The Media Lab is a fantastic, there really isn't a space for media makers and filmmakers to really come together and to work and to share and to be able to get programming. We have classes, there are screenings. This is really, I think, something that's very much needed in the San Francisco Bay Area. So thank you guys, and I'll turn it back over to wonderful Transmedia SF. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremiah.
Thank you, Jeremiah. So I actually want to already give it up to my co-founder, Beth Wakazinski. Beth?
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you all for being here. And I have to say, I am thrilled to be able to present tonight's topic, which is Transmedia Ads and Campaigns, reaching your customer in a multi-screen world. And this is a topic that's actually near and dear to my heart because I started out as a filmmaker, and this is all about storytelling. And I really quickly discovered that I didn't like top ramen. And living in San Francisco, and then I was recruited to work at tech companies in marketing, and that marketing and storytelling are really the same thing. And when you craft a good story for a brand or a product, it's really the same thing as telling a story. Actually, it even has to be better, because you've got to get across that emotion and that hook in 30 or 60 seconds. So it really is about telling great stories, engaging and delighting your customers. And now with this transmedia technology that we have, we're not only, we're being forced to do this because it is a multi-screen world, we're also being inspired to do this and do this better. And our panelists today are experts in this, and they're going to be sharing with us their case studies and their points of view and expertise as to how this is evolving in the brand and ad world. Before I hand it over to them, though, I just wanted to share a couple things from our perspective. One, why is this important? And it's because, not that, we don't live in this world anymore. Now, there probably are some people in this room that don't even remember this world, but there was a time when we all got all of our media and information, regardless of age or gender or socioeconomic demographic, from a single screen. And this was broadcasting, right? There was one message that went out to all of us, and we all took it in, regardless of where we were, regardless of how much we wanted it. We live in this world. This is a multi-screen world where not only does everybody have their own individual screen, we all have multiple screens. And the messages that are being distributed to these screens need to be the right message at the right time and for the right audience. It is a multi-screen world. And when we look at the world that we're in today, these are trends in media, and obviously as Transmedia we follow these media trends, but we all know that where goes media, so goes marketing. right? And so these top trends in media are exactly the same trends that we're looking at in marketing. And there's new business models and multi-screen, obviously UGC, user-generated content. But one of the things, and we could actually do a whole night, actually a whole semester long on any one of these topics. But we chose tonight to talk about multi-screen because this is something that has just gone wildly mainstream. Now this is from a report that Google did. They surveyed a number of people, and it's been suggested that like 89% of people surveyed are spending their time across 4 different screens. We divide our time across these screens. And there are a number of really interesting use patterns that we as marketers and product managers really need to be aware of and cognizant of. One of those is first of all, that it is split, right? And these are actually session times when you look at this. I'm spending 17 minutes per session. I may access my smartphone more during the day, but it's for shorter periods of time, and then I put it down more frequently, but for shorter sessions. But so 2 of the trends that we've been following, one is, especially in the ad world, is simultaneous use, right? And Hollywood is looking at this intensely because when you're watching a television show, there's a huge percentage of people that also have another screen on their lap. And this is an opportunity for both advertisers. It's also an opportunity for Hollywood to continue to communicate and to expand that story world. The second trend that we look at as marketers and media makers is sequential use. So, I may start an activity on one device, my smartphone, and then if it's too text intensive or something, I may graduate up to another device. But these are trends that are with us. This is no longer a corner case. The soccer moms have multiple devices. How many people in this room have 3 or more of these devices? Yeah, it's just about everybody. And it's spreading around the world, in Nebraska and Idaho and anywhere you go in the U.S. and in Europe, where they're even farther ahead of us for smartphones. It's just profound. So before I turn it over, I just wanted to share really quickly 2 amazing campaigns that we've tracked, and to look at the power of marketing and with Transmedia. And one is. Skip past this because I think we all know this. Customers are multi-screen and always connected. But so one is this Coca-Cola campaign. And the interesting thing about this Coca-Cola campaign is that they started it in 2009. They've had multiple people involved in it, but they were constantly focusing on creating this Transmedia Bible. What is the story world that they're looking to roll out with Coca-Cola? They utilized user-generated content. They had video and text. Campaigns, but they also brought it into something that is very transmedia, and that's IRL, in real life. And how they did this was they actually automated the Coke machines themselves. They turned this ubiquitous symbol of their brand into something that could engage and delight. They created a social transmedia loop around this. They videotaped everybody interacting with these happiness machines. And then they fed it back out into this universe and story world. And it really just kind of spread like a virus. I'm going to show you a quick snip of one campaign. I'm going to talk really quickly about the others. But all of these, if you take a look at these, all of these have gone just massively viral. They had over 60 million people physically interact with the campaign, but the reach has been 10 times that and even greater. Coke, actually, they're a senior VP of sales and marketing there, credits this with at a time when high fructose corn syrup sugar water beverages were going down, with raising their sales by 4%, over 4%. So this is a profound campaign and a really excellent example of Transmedia. able to do there, and they did this around the world, and the consequence, we consider this something I call asymmetrical marketing, right? You reach these 60 million people, they go out and they spread the experience, and it's amazing what they were able to do. You know, we talk about engage and delight, and they had people hugging their brand and walking away thrilled from the process. I mean, this is an amazing piece of marketing, and it's very transmedia, and that, like I said, every one of these campaigns just went incredibly viral. You know, around the world, they made it mimetic to the environment that they were in. In Italy, they would do community dinners. A truck would roll up, they would spread out this big pasta feast and bring the entire town, and it was amazing. In the Philippines, they had happiness trucks. In Buenos Aires, they had a doorway where the Coke machine actually opened up and became a gateway to Christmas, where there was snow in Buenos Aires in December, which is summer, of course. And so it was just this amazing thing. So take a look. I mean, there's some incredible campaigns out there. Before, one more thing I wanted to share. You know, I often get a lot of comments when I'm talking about transmedia and branding and transmedia and advertising. People say, well, you know, that's B2C, that's business to consumer, you know, you can do that with consumer marketing, and that works. But I think that today, in today's day and age, that we're in a world of, we've got to get rid of B2B and B2C. It's a P2P world. It's a people-to-people, person-to-person marketing and communication. And regardless of whether we're selling to somebody who is making a business decision for their corporation, or a mom or a kid that's making a decision with how they're going to spend their disposable income, it's got to be personal and it's got to reach them where they're at. So one last video I want to share, and this is from Salesforce, and actually my co-founder Maya has been working on some of their transmedia campaigns with them.
Have been proclaiming the dawn of a new revolution, a world where customers are no longer at the mercy of corporations, where they don't have to suffer through bad service or broken products, long waits or endless phone trees, and where they have no real voice or no recourse. Until now, it's been a hollow proclamation. Welcome to the world of the ever-connected, always-on, highly opinionated, on-the-move customer. This is a customer who understands they now have power, and they know how to use it. They have expectations, and they have choices if those expectations aren't met. And boy, do they have choices. They also have a voice, and it is loud and far-reaching. To earn their loyalty goes way beyond the loyalty program. You need to earn their trust, because make no mistake, this is a trust revolution.
Now, I want to tell you all that this video in its entirety is about 4.5 minutes long. And, you know, I didn't want to take your time tonight, but I encourage you to take a look at it. This is a company that understands that customers have a choice. They're multi-screen, they're connected, and they're always on. And they're actually, you know, really focusing, and you can see it in their bottom line. They're doing really well right now, Salesforce is. And so these are the great examples for all of us of what transmedia and advertising and branding can do. And then add to that, we have tonight a panel of experts that are going to share with us their own great examples. Because as we move forward into this next revolution of transmedia and advertising, we're lucky enough to have some people that are really kind of leading the way with multi-screen campaigns, with user-generated engagement campaigns, with e-commerce and back-end campaigns. And so allow me to introduce these folks really quickly, and then I'm going to introduce them one by one as they come up and share with you their expertise. Bob Pullum is with AKQA. Bob is a seasoned digital advertising veteran. He's been in the business for a long while. And I actually have to let you all know, so Bob actually just launched a big project with Audi, and he was up until 6:30 this morning working on this. So we are so pleased that he's still sitting straight up. And and amazed that, you know, and this is actually what we do in Hollywood too. You burn the midnight oil until it gets done. So Bob is here with us. Seated next to him is Greg Mcallister. Greg also has, you know, a ton of experience in the media and ad space. Greg's worked with AOL, worked at ad tech, a number of startups, and he's recently started about a year and a half ago, started his own company, Pushpoint Mobile. And Pushpoint is actually a mobile communication platform that brings offers and brands to small and medium businesses, but also works with large businesses. So he's actually on the platform technology side, providing a transmedia platform for advertisers. Neil Chaudhary is the founder and chief creative officer and CEO, I think, too, of Propane Studio. Propane is actually a digital agency, and they focus on digital engagement and digital applications. And so Neil's got some incredible case stories that he's going to share, and actually he and Bob both share some clients that that'll be interesting to talk about in our panel discussion. Shane Mclaughlin has a world of experience both in the media space. He's worked at Inc. magazine and spent a number of years at Nokia in the mobile world, and recently joined Walmart and their e-commerce. And it's interesting to be in a San Francisco crowd when you talk about Walmart, but you know what we can't forget is Walmart is the biggest company in the world, and they have profoundly changed the way that the world does business. You know, operations and just-in-time inventory and fulfillment, and all of these things have been changed because of Walmart. And so I'm really excited myself to hear what Walmart is doing in the transmedia and e-commerce space. So enough from me. I'm going to turn it over to Bob, and thank all of our guests for being here.
Cool. Thank you. So yeah, I apologize for a little bit of the sketchiness, if I seem sketchy as I'm doing the presentation, but like Beth said, I was up this morning working on a big project I've been working on for the past 2 years, so I'm happy to kind of debut that with you guys tonight and give you some insights and detail. Actually, when Beth came to talk to me, I was fingers crossed for this presentation that this project would be ready, because it's been under wraps and sort of behind closed doors, and just went live this morning at 6 a.m. So just a great sort of case study about multi-screen and sort of our thinking. I mean, I work at AKQA. It's a global digital agency in multiple cities around the world. I've been there since it was a very small San Francisco ad agency back in the day, and eventually grew and merged with a bunch of digital agencies around the world. I've had the pleasure to work on Nike. Some of our clients are like Nike, Target, at Visa in the past, and just through the years as digital advertising has grown, it's just been cool to have more and more screens and things to play with, but being very appropriate with it. And I would just encourage people to look at, there's a lot of interesting multi-screen stories on akqa.com, just as a reference to sort of see some of these other stories. But just kind of going in quickly into what I want to talk about today, it's not a campaign, but basically I think there's certain things about clients that there's certain core components of their business that you realize that you know, we had an opportunity with Audi to sort of reinvent the biggest piece of marketing in their whole arsenal, and that's their website. And if you think about how people are using multi-screen devices, people are doing things, they're accessing it from their phones. I mean, you could access this here, but I think the thing is that we wanted to kind of let that be at the core of what we're doing, because as we go forward and make even more campaigns, that they can actually come to life across multi-screen. So having this basis of a platform that we can do and actually help drive their business. Sort of the big things about it, you know, why is this so important for Audi or for any kind of auto manufacturer? Basically 68% of all US auto shoppers go to a manufacturer's website, and basically Audi's consumers are very tech savvy and tech focused, and like 85 to 90% of the customers visit AudiUSA.com. So it's a central, it's for Audi, it skews really high. It's a really important piece of communication. So we were basically given this opportunity from the CMO at the time, to create the R8 of automotive websites. And it was sort of like, okay, how do we break this down and think about that as a piece of, sort of revisit that, and what does that mean to build an automotive site from scratch with basically, innovative technology in the back end, as well as a great consumer experience no matter what screen they visited. So basically this being sort of this ultimate car shopping experience, one where there's like a cool brand experience through the design and how it reacts on different devices, but to be able to kind of take in and learn stuff about the brand, and as moving forward, it becomes a really cool storytelling platform and a way for them to present their products in an interesting way. And we do that through, and one of the core principles is responsive design. We redefine sort of a paradigm of search, a cinematic configurator, which you'll see in a second, and the ability to kind of, I think that's a thing when you show a lot of sexy cars and a lot of things, people want them. And in the whole past, I mean, I think the thing is understanding that in the past, all this was very fragmented. And it's very fragmented for a lot of manufacturers where it's like, you gotta go here, or there's a microsite here, or you gotta go over here to search or do things like that. But really wanted to have everything available on multi-screens wherever people access it, and to have that ready for the future. So I'll just let this video kind of...
The passion fueling the redesign of AudiUSA.com is simple. It was more than just a site redesign. It was a reimagining of what an automotive site can and should be. Engineered, much like we engineer our cars. Anything worthy of the four rings is purpose-built. This is the philosophy that gives rise to simplicity and intelligent design. Following these principles, the site is powerful in its clarity, connecting people with exactly what they're looking for, exactly when they want it. Audi owners, and by extension, potential Audi owners, thrive on technology. The responsive design of the site ensures amazing performance on any device, making Audi an industry leader by introducing this innovation on a site of such magnitude. To create an emotional connection with our cars, the experience allows people to build their ideal Audi and explore key features with unprecedented realism and scale. The goal was to recreate experiencing our cars in real life by uniting artistry and technology, creating one unique car from more than 55,000 images. Building on Google's search technology, we pioneered an approach to integrate search and actually improve navigation rather than compete with it, helping people discover our cars, find any car quickly, get answers, even locate a dealer. Our search innovations make it possible for people to actually see local dealers' inventory. Tens of thousands of vehicles nationwide, new and certified pre-owned. Buyers find the right car and connect to the right dealer in seconds. The brilliant simplicity of My Audi unifies and manages everything an owner would want to know about an Audi. Learn about the next oil change, or find 20-inch alloy wheels, or learn how to use Audi Connect voice control. It's quick, clean access to understanding, owning, and enjoying every Audi. Our dedication to simplicity, design, and performance comes before all else, on the road and the site. This is what gives us the courage to reimagine the possible. This is the new AudiUSA.com. This is truth in engineering.
Sorry. So anyway, that kind of gives a quick snapshot into sort of all the key features of the redesign, and sort of how, as a holistic piece, as it works cross-device, that people have this information, and also to, and how it works sort of, like I said, cross-device. So, like I said, it was really important for our team, and I think it's sort of our background in advertising and marketing and execution, was to make sure that that experience is beautiful across all devices. And you know, it's a big storytelling element. I think it was a huge undertaking for the team to do a responsive site on this kind of scale, because it's, you know, I can't remember, it was like 9 browsers and however many different things you got to plan for, and plus it's, you know, we're a lot of this is rendering on tablet, and so using a lot of back-end technology to help that happen fast. And like I said, this is sort of like the model page where you kind of land. So just so you have this consistent experience across device. Another element that you saw in the video was search. And I think that was sort of a way to kind of, when we approach the site, sort of mobile first. If you visit any other kind of, anybody's site to go to, there's a lot of links and everything, and a lot of things you have to go through. So using search as a way to kind of actually jump from model to model. So we have this title search that we're calling it. So it uses the Google GSA backend and allows you to kind of quickly jump to different models, as well as it's also used as another way to kind of navigate the site. So if you're in My Audi, you can kind of touch that and jump to different sections. But I really wanted to keep it simple and sort of mobile first and what's appropriate for that. And then the cinematic configurator. This is just sort of the, it's storytelling meets a business scenario where, a lot of times a configurator for a car manufacturer is just kind of this boring thing, and the car is really small and it's not really an emotional connection. And I think it's one of the things wanting to build value for a car manufacturer is to have a kind of we approached it from a traditional point of view where we brought in a photographer and worked with a CGI company to make this as beautiful as possible. And then just sort of the last part, being able to kind of jump to that Audi once you fall in love with it, and to be able to find one nearby, whether it's new or used. But really kind of taking into consideration the whole sort of user journey as car shoppers are. And then from sort of a holistic point of view, thinking about how a platform like this will work in the future with multi-screen marketing campaigns. It's just really kind of a basis for where we're headed. But just wanted to, I think I probably talked enough, right? Because of like, I don't know how long do I have?
No, you're good.
Okay, cool. But anyway, just like I said, very excited about just the beginnings of this and where it will go, and to have this basis moving forward sort of in a multi-screen arena. It's not something that we have to do now where we got to update the mobile site. Oh, we're going to update this. So it's like this real consistent one platform, basically all this content available cross-device. And I think that's important when you consider sort of the multi-screen world and sort of where we're moving with how people access things from different devices, and especially how people are doing things in their free time and car shopping and dreaming and things like that. It's important to have a great experience.
Great.
So we're going to actually have questions and a panel at the end. But does anybody have a question right now for Bob about what he was able to show us? No? Well, I actually do.
Okay.
So this is a platform that you've rolled out, and it looks like a really powerful platform and profound. Will you be able to reutilize this for other clients and customers, or is this something that then is going to be exclusive to Audi? And is this something that you see and you and your team see as the wave of the future that you'll develop on these platforms? And then actually, as a part B to that, in the transmedia world, I talked about simultaneous use. So is there an element of this where the screens will then sync to one another and have different components?
Yeah, I think that's, we definitely have a enhancement roadmap and a whole list of all these ideas that we want to do. I definitely feel like, how will people, there's also lots of considerations in the future of social shopping and things like that, or multi-screen things, or people, I believe there was just one done at Google I/O with Toyota and Google Plus Hangout. So thinking about how, that can happen. This was built, exclusively for Audi, and as it was actually a project that we used multiple AKQA offices to build, and something that was exclusive for them, and it would be more managed towards other markets for them versus for other clients. But we basically utilize the learnings and the processes behind the development of something like this for other clients. Not the same code or anything, but it's like the experience taking that on and using that for others. Okay.
Oh, go ahead. Was there a question?
What was one takeaway for something new and started this site? Like something that you'll be doing if you ever create a site again, if you want to make sure that that element.
Yeah, I would definitely say especially for something like this, on this kind of scale, that I think responsive is super important because of, like we said, it's the multi-screen world and people access things from different places, and it's just important, especially from a branding point of view, and taking that learnings of traditional thought of branding in these different areas and making sure it's consistent across everything. There's also some other technologies in there that I can't really talk about, but there are definitely some other learnings that I think are cool that we'll definitely be thinking of in the future.
Great. Actually, Shane has a question, and then one more from John in the back.
Since it's a panel, I figured.
Yeah.
Audi is one of those car brands that kind of speaks to a core demographic of people who love the brand, like BMW and Volkswagen. How did you kind of tailor the campaign to really connect with that core demographic and encourage them to be ambassadors and evangelize for it?
Well, I think the thing was making sure, in a process like this, as they say, sort of working with the mothership, like working with Audi Germany. I mean, I think one of the things is like keep making sure it's true to the brand in itself, how it's designed, the voice of it, the execution of it, the simplicity of it, making sure that it represents, sort of a core set of values. And it was one of those things that anybody that came on and joined the team, they were given a set of guidelines, or this is the, for designers, this is how we, set of design guidelines, brand book, and I think that's really important, especially as you multi-screen and go into these different areas. Like I said, that's consistent. So,
We're going to take one more here.
Is a larger advertising campaign driving a print or TV campaign driving people to your site? Are you
yeah. So there will be they did do a TV spot around this that will be airing in about a week or two for Summer of Audi. It's actually featuring the website as part of the spot, but in the future, like this becoming a major part of their hub of marketing for all campaigns and through social and everything, sort of this being a hub for everything Audi, and sort of consolidating microsites and consolidating things, and then developing other what we call global templates, which are how we build the pages so they can work cross-device.
So it's a utility that you're creating, from introduction of the model to actual purchase.
Yes,
test
it's really a platform. So basically, how do you utilize those elements? And we're also doing stuff for dealers and how all this can work into retail, and utilizing the same tools, the configurator, and all that stuff. Where it's branding and utility.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you, and folks will have a chance to talk with Bob after the panel. Thanks, everyone. So next up is...
Sorry. Sure.
Greg Mcallister, and let's get this going.
Hi, everybody. Perfect. Oh, there we go. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much, Transmedia SF, for having me tonight. It's a privilege. Congratulations on the launch, Bob. Responsive is everything. Just heard this week, actually, that Google is going to start penalizing people with their search algorithm for not having a mobile optimized site. So word to the wise, if you're considering building a new website, it absolutely has to live on mobile. My name is Greg Mcallister. I'm the CEO of Pushpoint, which is a digital marketing technology company here in San Francisco. And I come from a long background of sales and business development in technology and digital media, which means that I tend to string together a lot of buzzwords to make myself sound like I know what I'm talking about. But generally it ends up sounding like I don't know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to tell you a story about Pushpoint, and it'll illuminate for you what our business value is and who we cater to, and it'll all make sense to you after that. So our tagline is centralized mobile offer management, which is quite nebulous, but it'll all make sense in a second. So this is Jay Palmer. Jay is a customer of ours today, and he is a franchisee, and he owns 4 units of a franchised barber shop that's based in Denver called, this thing is a little slow, sorry. What's happening here? Floyd's Barbershop. Floyd's has about 40 units nationally, and Jay owns 4 of them in Denver. And he's kind of a prototypical small business owner, and he's a customer of ours today. And so when we look at Jay and we look at the brands that he interacts with every day, in his case he's a franchisee, so the franchisor is one of the brands that he interacts with every day. His merchant bank is sort of a standard interaction also, as well as his point of sale provider. In this case it's Milano. So these are sort of the brands that he interacts with on a daily basis. Beyond them, the biggest glut of complexity that he deals with on a daily basis are his local marketing service providers. So when we look at this ecosystem, we thought, okay, there's a lot of opportunity to simplify and make Jay's life a lot easier by simplifying and aggregating all these service providers on the marketing side. On the other side of it, we look at Jay's typical customer, which is, in this case, Nick, who Nick is not showing up on this deck. So Nick is apparently doing a disappearing act, but Nick lives on his mobile device. And he is a student at Boulder, and he has an awesome haircut. I wish you guys could see it. It's much better than mine. And we talk about the screens and ultimately the media that he consumes on a daily basis, and what are the channels in which a marketer can reach Nick. It's obviously SMS, it's social. Why is this taking so long? All right, it's social, it's email, it's search. It's ad-supported content on the mobile device, and to a lesser degree, he also responds to some degree to direct mail. Now, if we take those two dynamics and we put them together, and we look at all the channels that Nick can be reached through and the way that Jay has to run his business, all of these things are effective. All this sort of complex ecosystem of marketing service providers that he can use to reach Nick through all of these mediums. Well, what we're focused on doing is eliminating a lot of that clutter and centralizing all of that through the technology relationships that the small business owner uses, preserving the ability for them to create this transmedia experience and effectively reach Nick on his mobile device through all of these ways that he responds to advertising, all of which produce a consistent post-click experience for the consumer. If we can get this thing to work, there we go. That's essentially a QR code on the phone that's scanned at checkout to create a closed-loop marketing system for the small retailer, which creates very simple metrics for them to see what's working, cross-channel, so they can see emails working better than SMS today, that's working better than search, and makes it very easy for us and for them to optimize the system. So that's why we came up with OfferHub. So OfferHub is essentially a system to create and distribute digital offers that are all integrated to a point of sale, so that it's a closed-loop marketing system, performance advertising from mobile to offline, right? And it's doing it in a way and for a constituent that's never seen these types of metrics before. The small business owner has never known how much it costs for him to drive foot traffic in the door from any medium, let alone mobile. And in mobile, we're kind of going back to print metrics, right? We don't have a way to track effectively offline conversion back to an online ad engagement, more so in small and medium business than anywhere else. So we built OfferHub to do exactly that. And so we've launched, and I've got sort of a totally awesome slide here that shows you how it works, which we can kind of go through, but it's also missing some pieces, oddly. Great, that's fantastic. Sorry guys, well, it is really awesome, trust me. And we started the company about 1.5 years ago, and we're here in San Francisco, and we launched in March inside Capital One's SmartPay app. So we're focused on tablet-based point of sale today, and primarily because it's the easiest mode in which we can get codes on a third-party device to be recognized at checkout. Tablet is an exploding market in the small business arena, and we're in an appropriate building for that because Square is actually in the same building as us here. But there's about 30 companies doing this today, and a lot of opportunity to shift the value proposition for those solutions from being a system that helps you take orders better to being a system that helps you grow your business. And we do that by being able to intelligently manage messaging to local consumers, transmedia, all of which can be tracked at checkout. And we do that today at small business. We'll do it tomorrow at national retail, where it's a lot more complex a consideration. But this is where it all starts. And so the ability to empower the small merchant to build, manage these offers themselves, very simple workflows, very simple metrics of what's performing well, allows them to tailor message, target very accurately, locally. In some cases, they can build a geofence that may be a few blocks from their store, all of which is tracked at checkout and further optimizes the campaign. So in a way, it's definitely not as, it doesn't have the sheen, it doesn't have the cachet that a branding campaign has. It's definitely more direct response, but in a very unique way, we're turning mobile into a direct response channel in a way that no one's done before. And just to mention another aspect, which we talked about Jay being a franchisee. Franchise Hub is another aspect of our solution which allows for management of a highly distributed marketing system. So franchise is this crazy, very unique dynamic that some of you may be familiar with, where you've got a big HQ that may be somewhere in the Midwest that's got a brand like Dairy Queen or Quiznos or Sport Clips, but ultimately the end user is a small business owner. So we cater to both interests in that case. So HQ wants to control what's done at the local level. They want to templatize what the small business owner can do so that they're not herding cats. They can see global metrics of everything that's working, and they can ultimately push out best practices to the small business owner. And at the small business owner level, we're empowering them by allowing them to build these offers themselves, control the spend, and ultimately benefit in the transparency of having this large system. And so that's how we cater to a larger system with Franchise Hub. There are, as I mentioned, there are 30 companies that are doing tablet-based POS today, and all of them are clamoring for differentiation. Marketing is a really key piece to that. And as you have the advent of companies like Level Up and PayPal driving a lot of incentive around adoption of its mobile payment system here through offering free transaction costs, so no transaction costs on credit card transactions. Everything's moving to marketing data, so the monetization of the data itself will become the primary business model for anyone that's in the retail technology space. And so helping small businesses and large businesses intelligently make sense of that data, make that data actionable, is a huge leap forward in the way that technology can benefit businesses of all sizes. So that's my deal. Thank you very much for listening.
So, thank you very much. That's actually really cool. If you remember that little pyramid that I had up there, it was new business models, multi-screen, user-generated content, localization, and hyper-local and social. And Greg was actually hitting on two of those, right? The local, the social, and the new business models, right? So it's really interesting that these payment systems are going to an ad and big data model, right? And in entrepreneurial circles, the big joke is you go to the VCs now and you say, big data in the cloud, and you're able to get funded. But that is actually a really hot issue right now, and then that we're all looking at, and Greg's solution is really profound. So are there any questions here for Greg before we start? Okay, good. Our panel is asking each other questions. This is fun.
I'm curious, are you able to, do you think you can scale your solution so that you can tap into Intuit's merchant POS providers or Square, to kind of mention you were talking about that? What are your thoughts on that?
So, POS integrated marketing has historically been a very difficult thing to crack, primarily because the technology providers like a Micros or Aloha, they've never wanted to give access to that data. It's a very rich data set. Either they don't own it, the retailer owns it, or they don't want to give you access, or they don't have the ability to give you access because it's located locally at the store level and it's not easy to aggregate. That's all changing very quickly. Square is a very closed system where they're building everything themselves, from order management to loyalty, and they're not going to allow anyone else to access that data in a very Apple-like way. But everyone else has to take the opposite tack. It has to be a very open platform where best-of-breed partners can plug in. You can light up your QuickBooks integration, you can light up your inventory management, and in our case, you can light up marketing. And so there's a lot of opportunity with the newer players in the space that are doing light solutions that might be coffee versus muffin today, but it's all moving in the direction of SKU level data. And then everyone on the traditional side, they're all on their heels, or they're innovating very quickly to be in line with them, creating cloud-based infrastructure where we can integrate once with them and get to all of their customers. So that's a big part of it. The other side of it is the scanners in the store. Right? The tablet is also really attractive for us because the camera is much more flexible at recognizing a code on a third-party device today. Not many retailers at scale have the scanners in store that can recognize a code on a third-party device. Starbucks obviously has it today, Target has it, Walgreens is getting there, Walmart is getting there. But that's about it, right? So until we see the hardware adoption cycle in the mid and long tail, we don't really see that kind of frictionless consumer experience for another few years. And in the meantime, there's all this innovation around it. You can't walk into a burrito shop in San Francisco now without seeing at least 2 tablets on the counter that have some loyalty solution, and Level Up is there, and they're able to scan the thing. They've sort of disintermediated the POS. So there's all these people kind of trying to get around dependence on the POS. That's why we're focusing on the tablet, because they're really leading the charge on innovation there.
Cool, great. So your technology largely looks like magic to the end consumer, right? The consumer never sees anything that you're providing. So are you getting any consumer feedback on this? Or is the banks that you're working with getting consumer feedback?
They are. It's early days. We just launched with Capital One in March, and we work with a large retail bank based in San Francisco also on a mobile wallet solution that they're building.
A large retail bank based in San Francisco.
Yeah, much like every retail bank is building a mobile wallet, right? But none of them are actually doing it yet because they don't have the standard in the store to actually pay with your phone yet. It's enormously, it's super crucial that all of this is obscured from the consumer, right? This has to be a completely frictionless system for it to work. There's a percentage, I was telling Shane earlier, there's a percentage of consumers that actually don't even want to take their phone out of their pocket to be able to pay for something, which makes sense, right? We need to get to the point where not only is the technology and the process transparent, but the human actually doesn't even have to do anything. They just have to be present for this to actually happen, or not present. So, I mean, it's enormously important for us to obscure the consumer from all of this and make it look very, very simple.
Cool. Great. Other questions? Oh, I'm sorry, Jim.
Does this just work for sales, or can I use it to measure and build audience? Is it just going to measure what if my existing social, my existing outreach, marketing outreach, sales based on my marketing outreach, or can it help me with my marketing?
So let me actually expand on that. So I know what the system actually does today. You're basing it on POS, point of sale. And so are you looking at expanding this to be a local offer opportunity when I'm in a proximity to a vendor?
Yeah, that's a great question. So part of it is semantics. It's like there's offer, promotion, deal, coupon. All of them have nuanced definitions, and we try to stay away from the stuff that speaks specifically to a discount, because there's a lot of retailers that have problems with the idea of discounting things. And in that, we have to consider things that may not be a point of sale success metric. It might not be a conversion. It might not be actually selling a widget that is the end result of the funnel, right? It may be that you're looking to aggregate an audience in a specific place. It may be that you want people to take a test drive, and you want to be able to confirm not just intent, but the actual physical location of the consumer. And so there's a lot of ways that we can work with people, and we've actually worked with Toyota dealers in Northern California on this exact concept around intent and confirmation of location of the device. And so we incentivize the consumer to take an action on their phone when they get to the dealership, thereby confirming not only their interest in taking the test drive, which would be kind of analogous to going to the site and looking up the dealer locator. We can actually tell they got to the store or go to the dealer, which gets us a lot closer to the pseudoscience of an intent to convert, and that could be used for a lot of other things. And it doesn't have to be a physical location, and it doesn't have to be a conversion of POS.
Cool.
Sure.
Well, very cool technology. Thank you so much, Greg, and we'll look forward to talking to you on the panel again. So yeah, very cool technologies, and it's still kind of early days, right? You know, Bob was talking about a new platform that's just rolling out that for us as creators is really kind of stymied us. You know, he talked about all of the different browsers. And you know, and as a developer, and I had been developing games on mobile devices, and you know, we used to be horrified at the number of mobile devices, and now with Android, you know, we're back in that same, we call it the balkanization of the mobile world, where you've got to develop and test for each one of those iterations of Android. So platforms like this are going to be profound, as are platforms like what Greg has developed with Pushpoint. So our next speaker tonight is Neil Chaudhary. I hope I'm saying it right. Neil actually is a designer and founder, Chief Creative Officer, CEO of Propane Studios. Propane is a digital agency here in San Francisco, and they focus largely on digital applications, audience engagement, and digital experience. And I'll let Neil tell you a little bit more about that.
Great, thank you for that. 1 second. Okay, great. Thanks for your patience. So I'm Neil Chaudhary. I'm one of 3 founders for Propane Studio. Actually, our Chief Creative Officer is Rahul Adedra, just for correction, he's in the back, and our other founder, Lee, who's out here in the audience as well. So thanks for having me come here tonight. This is actually a great opportunity for us. We actually never get to showcase this case study with Intel because it's just legal, for legal reasons, we can't put it on our website. So it's actually very nice that we get to be able to share that with you. I'm actually going to take you behind the scenes on what it takes, or what the thinking or the science that goes behind these campaigns, and I hope that you'll find it fruitful. So, from an executive summary standpoint, a lot of the business MBA guys like this: situation, task, action, result. So for those of you that appreciate that, here it is. I'm going to skip that. What we're really talking about is, when you guys go to the Best Buy stores, you're met with blue shirts, right? And when you specifically go to the computer sections, these guys are trying to sell you hardware, they're trying to sell you software. So this campaign is actually by Intel. And what they did is they created a pilot where they decided to promote and encourage all of these Best Buy sales reps to watch these Intel videos. And based off them watching these videos, they naturally became more confident in selling the product. So it's not that you had to sit there and incentivize them. All you were doing was just building confidence in them. So they did this pilot. It was very successful. And so the next year they came to us and said, okay, Propane, we actually need to increase participation. We know that it works, but not on a scale that we can actually recognize or use. So that's where we come into the picture. So with that, the first thing we decided to do to actually win the project is pitch them with some wow, whiz, bang kind of stuff. So this is kind of a video that we made where we took this concept of, if we don't win him in the first 10 seconds, we're going to lose him. So we came up with this organic sort of box moving, growing, shrinking type of concept. And it tends to do fairly well with getting excitement. So that's what got us into the door, but it didn't stop there. What we needed to do is actually understand the psychology behind what is actually going to motivate these people to watch these videos. So what we did is we took a more academic approach, went online and found that somebody had actually written a research paper about true urgency versus false urgency. And so with that, we took a look at that and we said, okay, at the end of the day, we've got 3 months, and we've got to convince these Intel reps to watch 20 videos. So how are we going to keep them coming back? I mean, this isn't like Game of Thrones or True Blood, so it's kind of hard to get them to watch this stuff. So with that, the short of this sort of landscape is that it's really about motivating behavior, and it's really about the approach to it. The best sort of shortest way I could describe it is kind of training for animals. You reward when you're trying to train a dog to do tricks, you reward them based off treats. So it's reward-based training, not fear. They're not doing the trick because they fear that something's going to happen to them. So with that, we figured out the gamification was really going to work for this program. So with that said, the next thing we had to do is figure out, okay, well, what platform could we possibly use, or what sort of creative concept could we use that will expand this whole gamification across these videos? So we had, silly little Intel robots that we saw in the commercials. Maybe we could use those. That didn't work out. We looked at the demographic and said, okay, we've got 18 to 55-year-olds. What on earth is probably going to resonate with them? Well, cars do. So we thought future racing. And then I think at the time, too, Star Wars had just come out. And you know how they have those races where they sit on those silly little, rocket, horses. So we figured, okay, we'll combine future racing and race cars together, and we'll come up with this concept of future racing. That's how we came up with this. The other thing, too, that was important is racing. If you think NASCAR, it has cycles in a circuit. So just like a season, it's got multiple races that go in circles. And we needed that because we wanted to tie that and anchor that back to the videos. So here you can kind of see that race schedule that we're talking about, and I apologize for those of you in the back, but basically it's a schedule going through and it's talking about each individual race, and it's saying that each video that you watch is mapped to a lap, and there are 4 laps that make up an entire race. We also created other metrics or other motivations, like if you invited your other employees to watch these videos, you would then get triple or double the points too. So we came up with this concept of viral participation. How could we increase the participation at the end of the day? Because remember, that's our business goal. So that being said, let's see if we go to the next one. Oops. Yeah, see, I kind of lost trust with that little clicker, so decided to go on it. So it looks like, okay, so the animations may be kind of not working so much. But anyways, this is actually the end execution. So the reason I bring this up is, I want to be transparent with you. When you go into a pitch and you make a video and you're putting something really fun or cool in front of a client, you've got to be careful about what you do. Because when it actually came to developing and coding this stuff, it was a real pain in the ass. So we actually built this in Flash, and it took months to actually just get that math correctly. So just be careful what you pitch. Let's see, so let's focus on the core content for a minute. So we talked about these being technology videos. So we all have seen technology videos. For those of you that are geeks or not, this is about Intel chips, right? The i3, the i5, the i7 chips are both in PCs and Macs. And one of the things we noticed or just realized is, we couldn't just go about making the videos the same way that they were made before. So we actually hired a comedian, which is fairly dangerous to do because humor in general is a hard thing. But hyper-threading technology, it actually ended up working really well, because for something like hyper-threading technology, we're trying to communicate to somebody that this chip is faster because you can send simultaneous bits to somebody. Well, we just decided to throw 2 dodgeballs at somebody and communicate the same thing. So it ended up becoming very sticky and very entertaining for the Best Buy reps to watch. So now they're not just watching technology videos, they're actually watching videos that are entertaining, semi-entertaining, and fun. Let's see. So the next part of the strategy was actually to have this, what we call a video challenge. And the video challenge is a way to engage the user in another way into the platform. So the video challenge was invented so that blue shirts could sit there and video themselves actually giving the Intel lesson. So if you didn't think those things were funny enough, have a crack at it. And this is just recognizing the fact that video is very accessible. I mean, you can film somebody on an iPhone, or you can pick up a smaller HD camera or flip camera at the time. Either way, we gave the ability for the employees to upload this stuff. And it ended up having a huge effect, because when they uploaded these videos, the community themselves voted the best ones all the way to the top. So typically, you would maybe call that user-generated content. We were calling that EGC, which is employee-generated content. And that concept we got from a project that we had done for Men's Warehouse the year before, where we needed to create all this stuff. We couldn't trust the public with it, but you could certainly trust the employees with it. So we kind of took that concept and used it for Intel as well. Now, The other part too about pointing system in gaming that really gets kind of tricky is that you're motivating people to earn points by watching these videos. And by the way, when they watch these videos, they're quizzed directly after that. And that's how you know that they've actually retained any of the knowledge. What they earn on the quiz is what ends up on the points that are earned. But what we've done is taken it a step further where we started to say, look, it's all well and great that you're earning points, but we really need to aggregate you as a unit. We need to form teams. So we made each store a team at the end of the day. And so here you can see you've got your points, but how is your store actually doing? That's what really matters in this campaign. So with that, we had to sit there and go, okay, well how do we set up the store? So let's see, is this? Oh yeah, so sorry, just real quick on pointing too. You guys also can't see this in the back, but this says basically me and it says my store. So we're also comparing your points against your average aggregate store points too. So when you walk around in your store and you're seeing your people, you can realize that their points are being pulled into the platform as well. Now to personify these stores, we went and sketched out a bunch of cars. Not as maybe cool as Audi cars, but definitely along the same track. And we were aspiring car designers. We're in the wrong industry. But the idea is that each of these cars are essentially a level that you get from a store. So this was also inspired by South by Southwest session, actually. There's a CEO named Seth who works for Scavengers. You guys might have heard him or not, but he essentially said, he was a Princeton dropout, and his theory was that everyone that comes to Princeton for the first time is an A student until they take a test. And then they start to work themselves down. And it actually makes sense, because once you start taking tests, you're basically going to get a 97, a 95, and you're basically struggling trying to get back up to that perfect score that you'll never ultimately get. So it's reverse. So what he was saying is like, look, if somebody had told me that if I come to school and I learn these things and I'm going to have a virtual avatar and he's going to get, I learned this skill and he's going to get a jetpack and wings and a big gun, then hell yeah, I'm in, count me in. I'll totally be motivated to go to school. So we took that and said, you know what, he's right. Let's try and see if we can integrate that into this program. So we basically personified each of the stores as cars. And depending on how many points the stores earned, they leveled up in cars. So this is level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. And so that ends up giving a little bit more creative experience, or just ups the overall visual experience and the gamification of the actual program. Another part that we looked into was this area called Community Smack Talk. Now, this wasn't our idea, this was the client's idea, and we initially thought it was a fairly dangerous idea. And his whole idea, I think he was just really into sports and really liked talking to, I could see him talking smack to his friends at home or something about the games and whatnot. So he basically brought this and said, look, I'd like Best Buy people to be able to talk smack to other Best Buy people and encourage that sort of competitive sort of nature. So like I said, it's usually a pretty dangerous idea, but because this program is a closed loop, it's a closed circuit, it's not public, you'll never hear about it, you'll never be able to reach it from the public, it's actually fairly safe to do. So we let them have it, and sure enough, a lot of people got on the board and started talking smack to each other. And it was just unmoderated, so it got pretty nasty. So the next part, I think the most insane thing that we probably did with this is, with Audi, actually, strangely enough, in 2007, 2008, we were actually the first digital agency to bring Google Earth's API into the GPS navigation. If you think about GPS navigations, they're usually run on DVDs that are in the trunk, or they're pre-programmed. But we actually sucked in the actual Google Maps, so we learned a lot about that. And we sat there and went, well, we need to regionally describe these analytics or performance, because this is all about participation. So how are we going to communicate this back to Intel marketing execs? So we sat there and took Google Earth, we put it in, and because all of this big data is being sucked in from all the quiz, all the points, all the stores, we basically represented it back through Google Earth and used Google Earth as an engine to report back the analytics. And you can basically click on region, click on state, click on city, all the way down to the store and the actual individual employee. So it gives a very almost bird-like view of the entire performance of the campaign. And that's important because one of the fun parts that we learned is that we get to send 3 mini cars out into the nation. And so these 3 mini cars gave us an opportunity to not only create the graphics for it, but also send a fleet out. So it makes the intangible tangible, or as you were calling it, what was it, IRL, in real life? Yeah, so that's an in real life example, bam. And so here's your cars. These guys basically drove around to all the different cities. Now what's interesting about the analytics is that the analytics themselves are coming in and they're telling you, I guess, I'm gonna skip the slide. Yeah, so right here, sorry, I went to the other one. Oh well, it's okay. Point is that because the analytics are coming in, they're telling you which cities are performing the worst, right? So we've got 3 cars that we've got to send out into the nation, so we're obviously going to send them out to the worst performing stores. So what ends up happening is the platform is sitting there dictating where these cars are actually going to drive out to. So they go to the stores, they go to the weakest performing ones, they pass out swag, shirts, get them excited, get them back into the program. So it ends up being connected fairly well. We also had some mobile apps. We had an Android and a iPhone app in which you could take quizzes, watch the videos. And we liked this because we thought about the Best Buy employee and said, well, you know, it's difficult to get them to watch these videos. Let's try and make it so that if they're in transit, on the bus, if they're stuck in a line, that they can easily put their headphones on and just knock out a quick little 2-minute video and advance themselves forward. Another way of using the phone too was with phone challenges. So here people could sign up to get like random phone calls, and that's what would test the retention. So we had a call center call out to people, they'd get points, and the retention was basically gauged. And you know, just to wrap this up, all in all, what were these guys working towards? The stores themselves, if you became the grand prize winner, you'd get a private concert from a celebrity just for that store, and you'd also be able to choose what elementary school or K through 12 school, I think, that you give $25,000 to. So keeping them focused on the grand prize, it wasn't in their face, but it was just sort of subtly just introduced through various stages in the experience. It's not about working towards, it's kind of about working towards something that's a little bit bigger than yourself, so that whole sort of community aspect came through. And at the end of the day, you know, we increased participation by 3x from the previous year while staying within budget. The budget definitely wasn't a 3x increase either, so they were very happy. So with that, thank you for giving me a chance to share that with you all. I appreciate
it. That was a very, very cool campaign. And you know, I love the use of game design technique, and both the game design technique where there was the gaming elements and the competition that was apparent, as well as the reverse game design technique where the cars actually went out to the worst performing stores to get them re-engaged. And when we do game design, we actually think about, you know, when people aren't coming back, how do you get them back again? Right? How do you get them back without being obtuse and in their face about it, right? And you've got to reward them. You don't want to reward bad behavior, but you've got to get them back for these retention cycles that we're always concerned about in games. So questions, Jennifer, again.
Yeah, so was the whole campaign about getting people to watch these videos?
It was.
Well, it seems like the videos were almost like a colonoscopy or something. I mean, were they so hard to watch that you had to build this whole entire infrastructure around getting people to watch them?
Well, I mean, would you like to watch 20 videos around an Intel chip? I mean, you're kind of done after the first 2.
I'm just wondering about the...
Okay, so Neil's next project is going to be getting people to watch their colonoscopies. And so we look forward to seeing that. And Chelsea.
Yes. So you guys pretty much just you pretty much just gamble the whole house on car racing, but what if there were a few employees that didn't like that? Did you guys do some user tests before, some research to see if they were all or mostly?
No, that's a very fair question. That's a good question. We did actually have quite a few campaigns lined up, and we did, you know, introduce them to the client. The client did have conversations with a few key people that they trusted, actually the GMs of the stores, because the GMs are really the ones that know the culture the best. So that was the extent of it, but it was done. It wasn't full-on research, only because there was a time sort of restraints and there was a lot of work that needed to get done.
Okay, follow on from Chelsea.
Yeah. And so could you check how many employees actually participated and stuck through the whole process?
Yeah, we do know that number, but we're not really allowed to share that.
Neil actually wasn't supposed to be sharing this, so don't tell anyone that you've seen this.
I was actually just going to ask you about that camera. So.
Yeah, and actually, you know, I'm hoping that all of our presenters might be able to share their slides so that you can see them yourselves in a slide share, because there's such incredible and valuable information here. And let me ask one
Except
final question.
probably mine.
Yeah.
I can give you guys a dumbed down one, though. I'll give you a smaller one.
That sounds good. So did you actually consider game design when you were putting this together?
Absolutely. Yeah, we definitely looked at games. I play games myself, as do the other people on the team. So we definitely looked at that for inspiration.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, thank you, and we'll have an opportunity to ask Neil some more questions in the panel.
Thank you.
And so next. So next, we're going to hear from Shane Mclaughlin. And Shane actually is currently working at Walmart, and I would imagine that Walmart might be interested a little bit in the technology that Neil was showing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of similar issues that they have, and we're actually just doing a quick computer check. But do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure.
Talk a little bit about your background while we're getting this going.
My name is Shane Mclaughlin. I work in I work in Global Associate Communications for, I think we're all dialed up. It's based out of San Bruno. You might have driven by and seen the big Walmart building there. It's the e-commerce division, it's the technology division of the world's largest company, and there's a lot of innovation going on and a lot to talk about that relates to our topic today, which is connecting to customers in a multi-screen world. So the first thing I wanted to sort of cue up to everybody is just the enormous potential of e-commerce. I mean, this is the Wild West. It already accounts for 8% of all retail sales in the U.S. And it's expected to outpace sales growth at brick and mortar stores over the next 5 years and be $370 billion in 4 years. It's pretty phenomenal. And now big box retailers like Walmart and Target and our competitors are starting to wake up to this enormous potential. And it's kind of exciting to be a part of it. So Walmart is kind of big, kind of. We have more than 200 million customers every week. About 10 billion customers come through the stores, double the population of the planet. 2.2 million people work for the company. We have 10,000 stores under 69 different banners in 27 countries. I'm not trying to make your heads spin. I'm just trying to put some. In all likelihood, in the next year or two, we'll hit $500 billion in annual revenue. But I also want to point out that the company is extremely progressive. Last year, it gave away $1 billion to charity. It's committed to giving $20 billion to women-owned businesses. Recently, we announced an initiative to hire every recently honorably discharged veteran who wants a job. And most people might have heard about our initiative to bring 80% of our manufacturers back into the States, which is a smart economic decision given the way that international trade costs are going. And lastly, it's on the vanguard of environmentalism. 80% of all the company's waste is recycled. Revolutionized the way retail packages stuff. We got 100 stores in California with solar panels on top. And it's changing the way business is done and the way big business impacts the environment. So this is kind of the essence of what we're talking about. This is Transmedia at its core. The customer is in the driver's seat. You walk into a store now and it's not about an e-commerce website, it's not about a technology or a mobile app, it's about an integrated experience. It's about walking in and saying, I'm going to research something on my phone, maybe use a barcode to check out, maybe go onto Facebook and figure out what my friend wants for his birthday. It's a completely integrated experience, and that's kind of the realization that's happening at the tops of these companies is they're understanding, there's not technology, it's commerce. So this takes me into sort of the core opportunity that we have in San Bruno and in Walmart in general. It's this incredible opportunity to do something no one else can do, bringing together online, mobile, and social with 10,000 stores to create a seamless experience that lets customers shop anytime, any place, anywhere, and have access to a vast assortment that is far greater than any 30-acre Walmart supercenter. To be able to really buy any product at any time and help millions of people save money and live better, which is the very simple mantra of the company. I just wanted to highlight some of what the press has talked about in recent months, and it's kind of incredible how the media is sort of understanding this opportunity. It's kind of curious because it's uncharted waters for companies to start to think about technology and reaching people on a new level. Walmart is really looking hard and fast at what's going to really be innovative to help customers save money and live better. And you know, recently optimized our site, overhauled the search, bought a bunch of companies with really smart talent and technologies, and getting out of the way to let them do their thing to help bring this new sort of e-commerce to market. And the one thing that I think, I only meant to actually have one clip slide, so I didn't mean to do this. But the one Financial Times piece, I think, kind of speaks volumes to the opportunity the company has, because developers are coming with the opportunity to work with big data in a new way, because no one has more data than this company. And we don't have free daycare or shuttles or free food. There's a pool table on the 5th floor, and that's pretty much it. And if you go to the home office, the whole company has been built on this principle of everyday low cost, which means they don't spend, every time I get on a plane, I climb into the middle seat, and I hate every moment of that. And even in the home office, it's a converted warehouse where there are no windows. And it's because they really truly believe in passing the savings back to the customer. Everything comes back to the customer, and that's the exact same philosophy with the e-commerce play that we're running. And ultimately, we look at engineers who are coming in and we say, okay, we don't have the bells and whistles of a Google or a Facebook or a Zynga or whatever, but you have the opportunity to change the world. Like, you can write code that helps millions of people in India save money and live better. I mean, you can do things that are on a scale that's untested right now, and that's kind of exciting. So this kind of Harvard Business Review piece sort of really sums up where retail is headed. You know, to survive, retailers must pursue a strategy of omni-channel retailing, an integrated sales experience that melds the advantages of physical stores with the information-rich experience of online shopping. Again, it's not about a website or a mobile app, it's about a fully integrated experience. And I'm going to talk a little bit and wrap up, and I look forward to a great conversation with these guys, because I love every presentation. I'm going to talk about some of the ways that Walmart's delivering on this now. And I hate PowerPoint, so I was too lazy to actually pull the logos here, so not a design guy. But I'm going to talk a little bit about each one of these, and the first is the fact that 40% or more of people, your average Walmart customer, does not even have a bank account or a credit card. They live paycheck to paycheck. So some guys in San Bruno kind of figured out, hey, that's a massive opportunity to help connect to the web, to bridge the digital divide. And ultimately what they thought of was this program called Pay with Cash, where you can go onto the internet, reserve something. You have access to this massive assortment that the website offers. Reserve something, show up at the store within 24 hours, and pick it up. And ultimately we're bringing people to the internet that weren't there before. And the one thing we found out is that started to take off, is a lot of people would show up and pay with a credit card or pay with a bank account. They would gain the confidence to actually start to use technology in new ways. You might be familiar with Voodoo. It's a company we bought a couple years ago. It's an a la carte movie service based down in Santa Clara. And it's a great experience where you pay $4 and you watch a movie. The assortment is way better than Netflix. No buffer problems, and it was so successful and growing so quickly that Hollywood executives called the home office in Bentonville when the numbers came out and said, these can't be right. You know, this service is really taking off. So that's another way that Walmart's connecting with customers in a new and interesting way. Our mobile apps actually offer a feature when you walk into a Walmart store called in-store mode, which allows you to see in a second the map of the store and figure out where you're going and find your product much easier in this massive 30-acre supercenter. Scan and Go is an innovative program that allows you to scan items from your phone as you go through, and then check out with one swipe of your phone at a terminal, and free you up. You jump the line, you have the convenience of actually freeing up your time, and it frees up people working in the store to actually help other customers at the same time. And the last few I'll talk about is this one. I think is really a great example of how the company is trying to figure out new ways to help people save money and live better. Classrooms by Walmart was an engineer in San Bruno who realized that on average, teachers in the US spend $250 of their own money every year on school supplies. I mean, they don't make a lot of money to begin with, and they're spending a huge chunk of their income. And so what he did is he set up a network so you could search by a zip code, and teachers could go in and put online sort of a de facto social network, list the items they needed for their class. Parents and kids could go in and buy them, and then it was that much more efficient for people to buy the products they need, and everyone saved money in the end. Get on the Shelf is another innovative program in which any entrepreneur has the opportunity to sell their product at Walmart. And it actually got a lot of press last year, and it's sort of an American Idol type approach where you submit an idea in a video in a pitch, and in the end, Walmart will sell your product based on crowdsourcing the votes for what people like the best. And then the last thing that's kind of cool is this same-day delivery service, which is based down in San Jose. It's a grocery service where you can go in and collect, you pay a $5 charge, you have a $45 minimum order. But and this is only available in Millbrae, San Bruno, San Jose, and a couple other surrounding towns, but I would check it out if you're there because it's a fantastic service. You order things a la carte on the site, and the prices are 20 to 40% less than our biggest competitor, which is Safeway. So, I mean, you pay that $5 delivery charge and you still save money, and you save on gas, and you save on the inconvenience of traveling and spending all that, time lost. But, so I guess just to wrap up, I think what's exciting is that no company really on the planet has this opportunity to combine best-in-class retail and a history of creating a hugely successful retail business with best-in-class e-commerce in the center of the world, in the belly of the beast where technology is. And, it's kind of going to be interesting to see where it goes, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you. Go ahead. I see some questions, Henry, right? So we've got questions already. Let's see.
I'm going to give you my card. This was a massive release. I think it's actually, I think it's spend, but that's an excellent. I think it's 80% of all the distribution period. So every product that comes into a Walmart ultimately will be 80% of it sourced here. I mean, which is pretty phenomenal if you think about how much stuff we get from China. But I do, let me verify that, and I promise you I'll give you my card, and I will send you the press release, and we'll be good.
We're gonna ask Shane to write a guest blog on that, on
Yeah.
transmediasf.org. So actually, a couple other questions here. John?
Neil, I wanted to know of the user-generated content that you had. The levels of, were you able to chart the levels of engagement for that material as opposed to other things that you provided, and were the levels of engagement higher?
Well, so if you test.
Project.
Flame on.
Okay.
Test. Well, you can hear me anyways, right? So, I think from a user standpoint, if you're talking about specifically for the user, or what we're calling EGC, the employee-generated content, the way our custom-built platforms work is that the videos are submitted in, and the application is counting them. Now, you also know how many employees are actually in each individual Best Buy store. So if 4 people upload a video, you can then say 4 people out of 25 or whatever happens to be for that particular department, that's your engagement number. So the thing with the platform is that the general managers do input what the total potential is, and so the platform does have a way of pulling that number, but it wasn't one that was reported out. But was it collected and pulled in? Definitely. It's kind of like when you think about websites and servers, the servers are actually storing a ton of data, but it's up to the business to actually extract it if they want it. In that particular case, they weren't interested in that number as much, but I can see why you asked. And you had a second part to the question, or no? No? Okay.
All right, so here we go, Quan.
This question is for Bob and Neil. I was highly impressed by your execution and your ideas on your campaign. And I was just wondering, how big was your pitch team? How long did you have? And how close was the end result of your products when you originally pitched?
Well, the size of the team was initially a smaller group to kind of, consolidate the ideas, and then a larger team sort of, we had blew all that out, but for what I showed in the video and the presentation, if you look at the vision video that we created, we did a prototype, video prototype, moving prototype that was shown that it's very close to where it was, and we were luckily, when you have a great client, you're able to kind of keep things. So I think it just depends on the client and the project.
I think for the pitch team it was 3 people, and then the entire team it took to build the entire campaign, which I think ran, I want to say 7 or 8 months, wasn't really more than about 8 core people. Yeah, I think that sounds about right.
Oh, yeah. I mean, at one point the project was over like 115 people. So.
Wow. That's amazing. So I want to ask a question actually to all of our panelists, and then we're going to go back out to our audience. So, and I'm going to start with Shane, because Walmart talks a lot about the Walmart mom as being the profile target customer. And I'm wondering, at what level do you do a deep psychographic profiling of these customers? And Neil was asked this a little bit about, do these customers, are they really into car racing? And so talk to us about your psychographic profiling process, and then how that influences the technology and the design even around that technology.
Yeah, well, they certainly do. The Walmart mom is definitely one of the most powerful demographics in the U.S., and there's a lot of investment that goes into understanding how they market to them. And a good transmedia example of that is the recent local basket challenge spots that they've run. You might have seen them all around, and they have these wacky guys that go in and they kind of goof around with moms throughout the store, and they do this big comparison at the end where this is what you would have paid at Kroger, and this is what you're paying at Walmart. And it's a really pretty powerful way to show the everyday low price model that they have at work. And so that's one creative example, and they're very aware of looking at other ways that they do that too. And I would say in the social space, like that's where we're just getting our feet wet, because Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, you have mountains of data that really no one has quite figured out how to make sense of. And I realize I'm not truly answering your question effectively, but there's a lot of work going in to understand, especially how those Walmart moms, as they go on Pinterest and they put products online and they share stuff, how they can really understand how to engage them and deliver them the best customer experience possible, especially through e-commerce. So I mean, I think the next 5 years alone, with the social revolution and the work being done, it's going to significantly change the way people are marketed to and the way they buy stuff.
Great. Yeah, we know so much more about our consumers these days. Neil, what about you? Do you begin with a psychographic profiling process?
We do. We do psychographics, demographics, sociographics. For us, I think the transparent sort of answer is that we really have been focusing on the digital woman, and it's lately been sort of the digital mother actually too, just with the advent of having Kaiser for the last 4 years. And what it's done is, every client that we get, I think we tend to navigate towards clients where we understand the persona. So the transparent answer is every client we've gotten in the last 10 years has gotten us closer and closer to understanding that audience or that particular profile. And so for us, we're really trying to do some internal work as to like, what does that digital mom look like? We've got 4 personas right now for her. And she differs. She has different habits. She's either divorced or she's got kids, it just depends. So to answer your question, we are amassing as much information as we can. We're protecting as proprietary information and using that as information or an advantage in turn trying to close a new client or a new piece of work with the existing clients.
It's interesting with psychographic profiling, we often create these Venn diagrams, right, when there are numerous personas in there. And what is it that the divorced mom and the single mom and the married mom actually all have in common? Then we build for them. And Greg, your business is a little bit chicken and egg, right? You're also building and collecting all this demographic and psychographic information as people are making these purchasing decisions. But do you pre-seed that, with seeding it with some ideology about who these people are?
So the simple answer is not yet. Mobile, as nascent as it is, with the amount of data that is possible to collect on mobile today, which is pretty limited, right? You can't cookie someone on a mobile device today. It's quite dangerous to get into the business of fingerprinting devices or using local storage from HTML5 on the browser. There are ways that people are doing it today, but all of them are a little controversial and a little risky. So it's difficult to aggregate audience on a more permanent basis, and it's difficult to overlay much more than location today on what we do for a retailer at a local level. Not to mention, once you start overlaying anything beyond location, you want to add 18 to 35, or they like soccer. You have the same audience buying conundrum you have in a lot of mediums, and that's you get down to one user in any one market because you're trying to do
it. That's too narrow to cast, huh?
Yeah, just a little too narrow. And it's the fact that we're trying to combine the relevancy of a geofence that may be blocks or miles from a location based on what the average transaction size is, and thereby the value of the discount. And we're trying to keep that very local, but at the same time, we're trying to keep it relevant to the user. So in the case of distribution to existing customers, posting to Facebook, using email, using your current opt-in SMS lists, all of that's, of course, implicitly targeted to your customers already. But when it comes to customer acquisition and net new users that you're looking to reach, it's difficult today, and it's early days. And there will be a ton of data that's overlayable later, and will look more like an audience targeting platform, but we're not there today.
And Bob, so it seems like you might have actually an opposite problem, right? Because the audience for Audi and some of your other clients, and you've won awards for Nike, they're really well defined when you get there, right? Phil Knight knows who his people are. Everybody knows that, and Audi does as well. So what does your group do from a psychographics perspective when you get involved?
Well, I mean, I guess it's a bit more, it's really different with every client. As far as, working with the, data analytics team, working with, our strategy team to sort of figure out, who, for the specific campaigns, who we're trying to reach, who we're trying to target, and sort of combining that with data analytics and sort of, it's really dependent on the client and sort of, it ranges so much from client to client who we're trying to, it's not necessarily my department, but in creative, but.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting conundrum today, and one of the things that, I'm going to take some more questions from the audience.
I know that is the number, but I know it also is a big risk and a big commitment on the part of leadership to say that they're committed to American manufacturing, but I believe it's going to happen. And like I said, I would be happy to share my card with you to give you more details of it. I wish now that I've gotten 2 questions about it, I would have read that a little bit closer.
All right, another blog post for Shane. Henry, I'm going to try and get up there with you, okay? Let's see. Without blowing out the mic.
Quick question for Bob. Since there are 2 types of car buyer, low-end versus high-end, usually low-end car buyer, they buy it because of their budget or the salesman pitch, versus high-end where 2/3 are repeat customer, plus 1/3 are based on trusted recommendation. And given, having said that, all these part of the high-end demographic, how are we going to justify any ROI to Audi? And I mean specifically, how are we going to track any ROI?
For the psychographics and stuff, sort of messaging that's specific for different types of people, like what resonates for them, at least in the online marketing space. and optimize and sort of like, especially from online advertising and sort of different screens and sort of like where people are and sort of what you could serve to them from a marketing point of view to kind of get them either into the dealership or over to the website to check things out. I think we know from people's browsing histories and things like that, it's sort of the things that you can kind of know about somebody and be specific, different online advertising platforms allow you to kind of test and learn and see what works. I don't know if that...
One more here.
Whatever is post-mobile happens, or whatever that might be.
Yeah, I think it's when you plan something like this, and especially how we plan and concepted the website, making sure that you're not necessarily future-proof, but whatever the platform you build is that either utilizing the latest technologies or how extendable and at scale they can ramp up to different iterations and things like that. So it's definitely the consideration that whatever platform we're doing, using a lot of Adobe products, using the products in new ways and interesting ways, and it's sort of also sometimes where we need to use technologies that the clients actually, like Audi AG uses, but then we're trying to use it in an interesting and different way. But definitely, when you build something like this and you invest in a platform like this, looking to make sure that you're looking to use the latest technology.
Cool. So I actually think about it to answer Henry's previous question, and that's this idea of actually kind of a two-part thing. So I'd like each of you to think about your particular perspective on this. And we're in a world of narrowcasting versus broadcasting, and it also means that it's a world where we're collecting more and more data and information about the users. So it also dictates and defines the type of communications that we create. It also gets us walking that tightrope of privacy versus trust, and customization versus infringing somebody's privacy. So I'd like you each to comment on some aspect of that conundrum that we're in as marketers, of how do we create materials that are customized and yet invisible and seamless to the customer, and yet don't infringe or make them feel uncomfortable about giving out their information, or the fact that these types of things about them.
Just sort of thinking about sort of the future of in that space, sort of generally, even with the way online advertising is. There's now, if you noticed in the top of banners, like ad choices, so you can opt out of those types of advertising and things like that. So it's interesting to see that happening. I think the thing with advertising with millennials and things like that, there are things that they're want specific messaging, or I think there is some. I think it just depends on the generation of like what people are used to. Some people, I think it depends on who the audience is, about how people feel comfortable with the information that we've been dealing with.
The most attractive thing about big data in marketing is the ability to have control and personalization, but have personalization scale. And I don't think anyone is really doing that as well as they thought they would by now. And I think that's why the big data thing is sort of no one really knows whether the promise is actually going to hold true. But to your point, I think the millennials and certainly our generation more and more so, we want the personalization, we want the relevancy, but I think that there's an observer effect when it comes to asking people what they're actually willing to give up, more so in mobile than ever before. If you ask someone what they're willing to share, they're inherently going to give you an answer that's some level that's a few rungs lower than what they actually do share. And I think that's just because you're asking someone point blank, and there's not a lot of value exchange there. So the relevancy, the personalization, preserves a level of value exchange that makes it worthwhile for the consumer to share that data, share that with my friends, text me that offer for that product that I love. So I think that that's the other aspect of the big data promise is the ability to tie behavior to what can be scored as value in the eyes of that specific consumer, and then play that weighting between what's a value and what they want to get in exchange for that. And if that value exchange is there, and it's worth providing my email address, or it's worth sharing it through your app that I downloaded on Facebook to all my friends, then I'm going to do it. I mean, it's rare that it happens, but it's rare that anyone clicks on ads either. So that scale, this stuff actually does work. So I think that
Shane?
I got to say, I'm really cynical about I think there's a lot of talk about it, but very little action.
We're calling it Platforms of Tomorrow, and the reason is that that Tuesday, the TV of Tomorrow conference is going to start. I'm mostly participating and helping with their hackathon, and we'll probably be posting a lot about it on our social media. They're having a little hackathon that weekend. But our Platforms of Tomorrow is going to look at the different platforms that are out there to create